Captain Diez is here with us tonight, and I stole a little bit of an introduction from Elite Magazine. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing because then I would take up all of his time. But Captain Diez, after graduating college in 2001, was hired in the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department. He was 22 at the time and started in the jails, as all new deputies do. After working there for less than a year, he transferred to his next assignment. Captain Diez has worked in many different positions within the Sheriff Department, including community-oriented policing services, Operation Safe Streets, Motors, which is near and dear to my heart, we'll have to talk about that, and Internal Affairs Bureau. Captain Diez was appointed captain of the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station in March of 2020. He had previously served at the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station Operations Lieutenant from 2017 to 2019. Justin is a Santa Clarita resident of 16 years and has said, "I am back where my heart is. For those of us who live out here and work out here, it is hard to put into words, but there is that extra spark and commitment to the area when you live and police in the same place. I feel fortunate to be here in the Santa Clarita Valley. This station has always had community support. You may hear this from all stations, but to me, ours is very special. I can honestly say that our community support I've witnessed locally is like nothing I've seen in my career." When not in uniform, Captain Diez enjoys spending time with his wife and 2 young children. And with that, let's give Captain Diez a big hand.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Alan told me that this is your second meeting back from COVID, or from Zoom meetings, I should say. So yes, as Alan mentioned, I started in March of 2020, and as we all know what happened in March of 2020, COVID came, and we just had this unbelievable new thing to deal with in policing that we've never dealt with before. And so anyway, happy to be here, very familiar with the station. I worked here for a couple years with then Captain Lewis, and very, very fortunate to have this job, and happy to be here. So thank you for having me, and as I told Alan, I wanted to give you guys a brief overview of everything that's going on. And then if you have any questions, just raise your hand or shout out a question, while we go through things, or wait till the end, whatever you want. But anything you want to know, I'm an open book, and we'll let you guys know what's going on in the city, the county, the department, the station, whatever you're looking for. So first and foremost, people always ask me, the first thing that comes up is how's crime, right? Because that's what people want to know. We know that the city keeps getting all kinds of accolades, online accolades for, and I don't have them in front of me, but, they'll be rated a safest city in the country, over 200,000 people, or safest mid-sized city in the country, or best city to raise your family, and this and that. And they use all kinds of metrics to figure these things out. One of the biggest metrics, though, is crime, and that's what our low crime rate out here is ultimately what bring people to Santa Clarita, right? We have people that move out here from the valley. We have people that move out here from the Antelope Valley, Ventura County, you name it. Different parts of Los Angeles, they come out here. We have business owners that come out here, young families, empty nesters. It's a great place to live. So again, crime is always the biggest thing. So our crime rate today, so let me explain to you how crime works. So the FBI tracks crimes all throughout the country. They're called FBI UCR, Uniform Crime Reports. And the crimes that are tracked are, they're called Part 1 crimes: murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, grand theft auto, and arson. Okay, so those are the big crimes, Part 1 crimes that we track. And every day we wake up and our crime rate prints up. So today we are 30 crimes over where we were on this day last year. So let's think about that. 30 Part 1 crimes more today than we were this date last year. So people will always ask, is that good or bad? So let's put it into context. Last year on this date, if you think about it, we were shut down from coronavirus, right? So Magic Mountain was shut down, the mall was shut down, bars and restaurants were shut down. I mean, we were pretty much in lockdown mode about this time last year, if you think back. You didn't see a whole lot of cars on the road, although as summer progressed last year, more and more people were out on the road. But so many things were just completely shut down. So to say today that we are only 30 crimes over where we were last year, we're doing really good. And that's the point I'm getting at. Because last year, again, at this point, we were completely shut down. Most people were at home. They were working from home. businesses weren't open. So that's a great thing. So in 2020, that was our lowest crime rate on record that we've ever recorded for the city and the county in the Santa Clarita Valley. We were very proud of that, but we know that year and that number is not a good metric because, of course, we were closed down, right? So we're proud of that distinction, and now the goal is to end 2021 on December 31st with at least one less crime, but certainly more, with less crime than we had last year. And that's the goal. So today, we're up 30 crimes, and we want to keep chipping away at that and end December 31st with a significant amount of less crime, and that would be a great accolade where we could say, hey, we work together as a community, we work together as a police department or your sheriff's department, and we're able to reduce crime. So people ask me all the time, okay, crime's only up 30 crimes, give or take, right? And we have all these policies. We hear that people are being released, and how does all that work? Okay, so I'll make it as simple as I can for you. On March 17, 2020, we know that COVID was just starting up, and they wanted to, our electeds wanted to, I guess probably the best way to put it is lower capacity within the county jails and state prisons, right? And how would they do that? Well, one of the ways to do that was to have an emergency no bail release policy. Okay, it was a statewide policy that started about March 17, 2020. Don't hold me to that date, but give or take a couple days. And that simply said, when somebody is arrested for a misdemeanor or felony, they come into the police station or a sheriff's station, and their fingerprints are taken, and they're issued a citation. They're released on a citation, and they have to appear in court 4 months later. Well, there are some exceptions. So let's back up. So you get arrested for a misdemeanor or felony, whatever it may be, and deputy sheriff brings you in. We take your fingerprints. Make sure that you don't have any out-of-state warrants, in-state warrants, anything big. Make sure you're not wanted by anybody. And then you're released on a citation about 4 to 5 hours later. Okay? So that was the emergency no bail policy statewide. I believe that went to about mid-June, and then the state canceled it, and then LA County continued it. So from March 17, 2020 to current, so we are still doing that, everybody we arrest on a misdemeanor or felony is cited out roughly 4 to 5 hours later. Now there's an exception. There's an exception for violent crimes and violent felonies and serious felonies. Although I can't give you an exact number because the penal code delineates what's a violent and a serious felony, you're probably looking at about 50 felonies and misdemeanors. Don't hold me to that number, somewhere in that realm. So if you're arrested for one of those felonies or misdemeanors, one of those 50 serious or violent crimes, you go to court. Okay? And I don't have the percentage of the people that go to court, but it's very low, but I don't know what it is. And then came early December 2020. Our new DA came in, DA Gascon, and he started several policies within the DA's office. There were 8 policies that started on day one, and one of them was the elimination of bail. And so ultimately, there's a lot of policies that they started, and it's up for it's a different discussion on a different day. But ultimately, the serious or violent felonies and misdemeanors that actually make it to court, the overwhelming majority of those now are released in 48 hours at arraignment. Okay, so we arrest you, you're cited out 4 to 5 hours later on a citation to appear in court within 4 months. If you do make it to court, you're released in 48 hours at your arraignment because there is no more bail. Okay, so the cash bail system has been eliminated for the most part. Now, there is 2 exceptions to that. You make it to court in 48 hours. You may not be released at your arraignment if the DA can prove that you are a flight risk and or that your victim, if you committed a violent felony, is an imminent threat of serious bodily injury. Okay, so have I confused anybody? Does everybody understand how it works? You're arrested for a misdemeanor or felony. Deputy sheriff brings you in, hand you off to the jailer. The jailer fingerprints you, assuming you don't have any warrants for your arrest or anything that you can be held on, any exceptions. You are released on a citation 4 to 5 hours later. There are exceptions delineated in the penal code, violent and serious felonies and some misdemeanors. Those will go to court. Those are released within 48 hours in general. Released within 48 hours at arraignment with the exception of you're a flight risk and the DA's got to prove that, or you are your victim is an imminent threat of serious bodily injury. Okay, so I don't work for the DA's office. I won't make any comments on their policies. I'm just stating the facts of what the policies are. That's how I read the policies. I don't know what's actually practiced at the DA. It could be looser than what I'm saying, or it could be stricter. But that's just how the policy reads. So there are 8 or 9 new policies that started in early December, and you could certainly, it's public record. You could certainly look that up and educate yourself on it. That's one of them. Given the fact that all of that happens, the overwhelming majority of our arrests are all released, the question then becomes, well, why is our crime lower? And, really the only thing I can tell you is that the deputies at the station are making quite a few more arrests. So 2020 was the highest arrest we've ever had in the station history. In 2021, the first 6 months will likely beat 2021. So ultimately, we are making more arrests and trying to take these offenders off the street, but unfortunately, that's on the front end, but on the back end, they're being released. So that brings me to my next thing. People keep asking about repeat offenders. It's come up in the Signal a few times. I believe it's come up at City Council a few times. So at Santa Clarita Station, we track our repeat offenders. And basically, what we consider a repeat offender is if we arrest you 2 or more times. It's that simple. We don't count if LAPD's arrested you and then Santa Clarita Sheriff arrests you, or if Palmdale Sheriff arrests you, then Santa Clarita Sheriff arrests you. We're only tracking the people that we are arresting 2 or more times. I can tell you from March 17, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, so what is that, 15 months or thereabout, just under 15 months, we have arrested roughly 820 people have been arrested roughly 2,700 times in Santa Clarita, repeat offenders. Okay, so what I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen, is that your deputy sheriffs here are working hard to keep this community safe, but unfortunately we have a lot of repeat offenders. And those 820 people that have been arrested 2,700 times, that's everybody that's been arrested 2 or more times, and our highest person has been arrested 21 times. Okay, so it's a very difficult job. It's certainly a rewarding job, but it's very difficult to do right now with these no bail policies. So I certainly won't make any political statements. I can only give you guys the facts of what's going on. Repeat offenders are hurting us. We are certainly giving them a lot of attention, but that's the uphill battle we're facing. So again, given all that, to be only 30 crimes over what we were last year, we're doing pretty good. But certainly our goal is to be less, be in the negative, not positive 30. We want to be down in the negative. So we talked about that. We've talked about our arrest. Again, 2021 is going to be, if we can, if we keep up what we've done the first 6 months, 2021 will probably be our highest arrest numbers at the station. And then people will ask, well, you have high arrest numbers. What does that mean? There's more crime? Not necessarily. An arrest can come after a call for service where, let's say, for example, domestic violence, right? We get there, we arrest the dominant aggressor, which is usually the husband, but sometimes the wife, of course, and that's it. So sometimes an arrest is made based on a call for service. Other times an arrest is made by proactive policing. And what that is a deputy sheriff maybe going down the street, sees a vehicle code violation or some sort of violation, stops the person. Maybe they have a warrant for their arrest. Maybe they have contraband in their car. Maybe they have narcotics. Maybe they have a weapon of some sort, and then an arrest is made like that. So there's 2 different types of arrest based on a call for service, and then a proactive policing arrest. Our arrests made on based on proactive policing, there are quite a bit. We've got several special teams, actually multiple special teams that the city of Santa Clarita pays for, and our special teams are out there. We work with our crime analysts quite a bit, and basically we send out our special teams to do target-specific operations based on real-time crime data. So we get with our 2 crime analysts and we say, hey, where is the crime? What days of the week? What hours? And that's where we're sending out our special teams. In addition to our special teams, our detectives are out there, our patrol guys and gals are out there, and really everybody's working hard for you. We have about 240 people assigned to the station. We rotate every 8 hours and we never close the doors. So you could imagine having 240 people. They all have lives just like you. Some are married, some aren't. Some have kids, some don't. Some are divorced, some aren't. We are just a microcosm of our Santa Clarita, of our society and our Santa Clarita community. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of work to keep 240 people rotated through the station every 8 hours, right? And that's everything you can imagine. That's deputy sheriffs, that's detectives, that's our training officers, that's our watch deputies, our dispatchers, our jailers, you name it, fleet people, all our secretaries, professional staff. It's a big machine, but we're doing well. So very proud of the guys and gals. If you see them out there, please thank them. They are, they're the ones doing the hard work, especially when we're all sleeping in the middle of the night. You know, they're working that night shift, right, and up while everybody else is sleeping. So anyway, what else is going on? Summer team. So does anybody here live in the county, unincorporated county area? Anybody in the county? So Supervisor Barger, you guys know that we are in the 5th District under Supervisor Barger. Every year Supervisor Barger funds a summer enforcement team. Now all the supervisors do. And we get one at our station. It's funded by the 5th District County Board of Supervisors. That includes 1 sergeant and 4 deputies. They are what we call a no-call car, meaning they don't handle calls for service. Their job is to go out and work with the community and work with our crime analyst, figure out where the crime is, and make those proactive arrests. They are out in the West County and the East County, unincorporated county area. They have been funded from May, and they go till September 11th. It's a 17-week program. They have made, I should have brought their arrest records with me. I didn't. I apologize, but they're probably pushing, just since May, probably an additional 200 arrests in the unincorporated county area. So it's a great program. It really drives crime down, boosts our arrest numbers, drives crime down, and that's important. It's important to be proactive and make proactive arrest as opposed to being reactive and only making an arrest after a crime's been committed. What else? So people ask me all the time, hey, I live near whatever shopping center, or I work at whatever shopping center, or, you know, whatever. How's crime in my area? The easiest way to figure it out, folks, super simple. There's a website called crimemapping.com. You can go on it on your computer, on your laptop. You can go on it on a cell phone. Super simple. You don't need a degree in criminology or computer science or anything. You go on it. You don't need a password. You don't need to put in your name. You don't need to click on any ads. You don't need to do anything. All you do is go on there. You can look it up on a map. You can type in an address, and it'll show you all the crime that is going on in your area. It's great. It actually is our system that we use, our internal system on the Sheriff's Department. CrimeMapping.com actually pulls all its data from there. So it's right on. Usually if I run each system, our internal system, and CrimeMapping.com, they're within a crime or two. I mean, it's right on. So anytime you want to know what's going on, it'll show you where arrests are made. It'll show you where vehicles are towed. It'll show you where crime has happened. When we write police reports, it's a great, great tool. Please use it. Tell your friends and family. It's a great way to educate yourself. Oftentimes people will read the media, look on social media, they'll go on, read the newspaper, or maybe just talking to friends and family, and you'll think to yourself, gosh, there's all kinds of crime like in my neighborhood or right around my house. And you know, you get that impression maybe through word of mouth, but then you go on crimemapping.com and you look, and you can go back a day, you can go back 30 days, you can go back a year, 2 years, whatever you want, and you can see exactly what's happened. And it's pretty surprising. Most of the time you realize that it's nowhere near as bad as what you thought listening to your friends or certainly going on social media. So anyway, it's a great resource. They don't give me any money for promoting them. That's just a great resource. Transparency page. People ask me all the time, hey, where do we find out stats about arrest, crime, deputy discipline, body-worn cameras? So where do we find that stuff out? Our sheriff, Sheriff Villanueva, is the first sheriff that I'm aware of that's put all of our data on LASD.org. So if you go on the Sheriff's Department's website and you scroll down to the bottom, there's a transparency. I think it says Transparency Promise or Transparency Page. Click on it, and it will give you all the information related to crime, arrest, use of force, deputy-involved shootings, our entire manual of policy and procedures, which is thousands and thousands of pages long, complaints, our complaints, deputy discipline, and then also our body-worn camera program. So anyway, it's a great page. If you ever want to go through it, if you're ever interested, it's there. All the raw data is there, and it's a great resource. 9 p.m. routine. So in Santa Clarita, the biggest the biggest crime that we have of those Part 1 crimes is theft. And we're very fortunate here that the overwhelming majority of our crime here is property crime as opposed to violent crime, right? And the overwhelming majority of the property crime is just a larceny theft. That's what we officially call it. And the overwhelming majority of that can probably be stopped, or a big number of it can be stopped if we just did a few things. So oftentimes on our social media or through word of mouth, we're always reminding people the 9 p.m. routine. If you can remember at 9 o'clock to lock your car, right, and shut your garage door and maybe lock your front door, just lock up, turn on your lights, close your garage doors, we could save ourselves an overwhelming majority of our larceny theft. You would be amazed at how many people leave their cars unlocked, not only at night, but just leave their cars unlocked in a parking lot. You'd be amazed at how many people leave their keys in their car, how many people leave their garage doors open. Sometimes you forget, sometimes you get lazy, sometimes you kind of say like, oh, I've always left my car unlocked or whatever. You can't do that. And it's just people are being victimized. And we could stop a massive amount of larceny theft if we just did that. What thieves will typically do is they'll go into a parking lot, let's just say Best Buy. Best Buy popped into my head, right? You've got potentially hundreds of cars at Best Buy. You've got Best Buy, Petco, it's a big shopping center, right? Hobby Lobby, big shopping center. If a thief goes by and flips door handles on cars, right? Just kind of, low-key flips the door handles. If that thief flips 30, 40, 50 door handles, one of them is going to be unlocked. And the first one they find, they're going to rummage through the car. And I'll take it one step further. You'd be amazed at how many stolen cars we have out here where people left their keys actually in the car. So you remember old school, when somebody would break into a car, you'd have to look for the keys or hotwire it, right? Well, you can't hotwire a new car because they all have these fancy computers. But now you don't need to find the keys. All you have to do, if you're a thief and you break into a car or the car's unlocked, all you have to do is hit that start button. Because if somebody left their key fob in the car's going to start, right? You don't need to look for the keys. The old school thing where you put down the sun visor and the keys fall down into your hand and then you drive away with the car, that's gone, right? Almost every car now has got a key fob. So if you leave that car unlocked or you just leave a key fob in the car, all the thief's got to do is just stick their head in, hit that little button. If it starts, hey, they're off to the races, right? They just got themselves a car. It happens all the time. You'd be shocked, ladies and gentlemen. So please, please, please lock your cars. Do not leave the key fobs in the cars. 9 o'clock at night, please close your garage doors. Turn on your lights if you have lights outside, either on your porch or whatever. Thieves aren't going to go to houses that are well lit. They're always, always, always going to go to the dark parking lots, the dark houses. If you have an opportunity to park in the garage, please do, or in the driveway, that's all the better, as opposed to leaving your car, as opposed to leaving your car out on the street. Well-lit areas, same thing. If you're in a parking lot and there's a great parking space that's, dark, and then there's a not-so-great parking space that's, well-lit, please go to that well-lit parking spot, even if you have to walk far away, because those thieves are going to go into those dark areas. So that's our 9 p.m. routine. Always remember, 9 p.m. routine, 9 p.m. routine. Mental health. People ask me all the time, nonstop. It's probably the most question I ask. What is going on with mental health in Santa Clarita? And I can tell you that a major number of people that we arrest have mental health problems. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to delicately put it, but the overwhelming majority of the people in our jail are mentally ill. On a scale of 1 to 10, they could be anywhere from a 1 to a 10, but the overwhelming majority of them are mentally ill. As you guys know, a lot of people who are mentally ill self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, and that only exacerbates the problem, as you can imagine. And it's a major crisis. I don't know how to solve it. If I knew how, I wish, I would love to, and I don't know how we're going to solve it as a society or a community. But I can tell you that it is a major problem. I think it's probably widely known or widely accepted that COVID has exacerbated our mental health problem throughout the country, but I can certainly tell you that in Santa Clarita, we are going to countless, and I didn't bring the numbers, I apologize, but countless calls for suicides, attempt suicides, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, you name it, and everything in between. And we're not just talking adults, we're not talking, males in their 50s or whatever. We're talking kids as young as 11 years old. You would be shocked at how many calls were going on for kids, and the parents go, I don't know what to do. Police, come help me. I don't know what to do. As you can imagine, there's a very specific criteria to 5150 somebody. 5150 is a welfare and institution code, which means we can take you and commit you for up to 72 hours against your will for mental health evaluation. For an adult, it's called 5150. I'm sure everybody's heard that term before. For a juvenile, it's called 5585, the Welfare and Institution Code. You probably haven't heard that before. So 5150 for adults, 5585 is for juveniles. We are going on an unbelievable amount of 5585 calls for juveniles for either attempt suicides, suicidal thoughts, you name it. And unfortunately, it's very, very strict criteria to get a juvenile committed, as you can imagine, into a mental health unit. So the overwhelming majority of the time we're leaving and we're saying, sorry parents, there's nothing we can do. And it's very scary and it's very frightening. So as you can imagine, kids have not been in school. They've been going on Zoom for the last year and a half or whatever it is. And there's no access to counselors. They don't have access to their friends, and so on and so forth. Same thing with adults. I'm sure everybody in this room, my wife is certainly, I was fortunate. I got to go to work every single solitary day, and I don't say that jokingly. I didn't take it for granted. It's nice to be amongst, your friends and coworkers. My wife was cooped up in the house with the kids, and probably going stir crazy, right? And I think probably everybody in this room, or certainly if not somebody in this room, I'm sure you had friends and family that were in the same boat. So it's taken a big toll on us, and it's very scary. So I can tell you in the back of the room, once you leave, we've got some mental health resources. We partner with Henry Mayo, and we work with them quite a bit. We have a monthly suicide prevention meeting that is hosted by Larry Schallert. I don't know if any of you guys know Larry from Henry Mayo, and they've put together this mental health resources guide. It's back there. Also back there is another one of these. This is from the Sheriff's Department, and if you look on this is called a non-enforcement contact card. Basically, deputies carry these at calls for service, and sometimes they give them out to people, and basically it's all our local resources out here. And that's everything from Children and Family Center, Mental Health Center, Veterans Center, Bridge to Home, you name it, Henry Mayo, all of our LA County resources, everything. It's a one-stop shop card for anything that you may need resources for. And then in addition in the back, we've got this, and Alan, I will send you the PDF of this. So if you guys may or may not know, the entire Santa Clarita Valley is broken up into 8 zones. Each zone has got a zone leader. So the zone leader is your one-stop shop for anything that's going on in Santa Clarita that you're having a problem with. It could be, it could be a neighbor you're having an issue with. It could be crime. It could be vandalism. It could be speeding cars. It could be anything. This right here, and it's on the table back there, I'll send it to Alan too, and he can send it out to everybody, is your one-stop shop. So this has got your zone deputies. And for Canyon Country in particular, we have 2 deputies, Canyon Country East and West deputies. It's Deputy Stowers and Deputy Cervantes. So again, one-stop shop. Their numbers are in here. You can contact them directly. You can email them directly. I encourage you to reach out to your zone deputy for any issue you're having. They will bring whatever resource you need, even if it's not law enforcement related. Typically, they're not law enforcement related. A lot of times they end up putting you in touch with a county resource, a city resource, or maybe even a private entity of some sort. So anyway, that's a great thing to have. I'm almost done, guys. I'm just trying to go over some random stuff. Credible information. So, as you guys know, we're in the world of social media right now, and there is so much stuff on social media and so much bad news on social media, or fake news, whatever you want to call it. I encourage you guys to please get your news information from credible sources. Some credible sources would certainly be the City of Santa Clarita, their website or their social media, the Sheriff's Station. KHTS does very well. The Signal does very well. Austin Dave, and I apologize if I'm missing any other media resources. But anyway, please get your information from credible sources. You would be amazed at people calling the station nonstop all day, every day, on calling about something they heard on social media or saw on social media that is absolutely not the truth. So please get your information from credible sources. Fire season. You guys know that we're in fire season. It's very scary. I believe last year in 2020, from March when I got there to December, I want to say we had 12 big fires, massive fires, where we actually pulled out the Sheriff's Department command post. We brought everybody to patrol to help us either do evacuations, do traffic control, or run the command post, and we left a skeleton crew, handling calls for service. I think we did that 12 times last year for 12 major fires. As you can imagine, this year could certainly has a potential for some more big fires. If you see smoke anywhere, I mean whether it's in the wash, whether it's down the street, whether it's up in the hills in our prized, protected land, that surrounds the city, our open space, I should say. Please, please, please call, even if you think 100 other people have already called the station, so we can get over there and get the fire department on it. Needless to say, I think anybody in Santa Clarita would agree, fires are very scary. It's wonderful that we're surrounded by open space, right? Because, they won't build on open space, and those are beautiful for hiking and mountain bike riding and, horseback riding, but certainly scary for fires, right? So not only is that open space a concern, but the Santa Clara River, and that's our wash or our river that connects the 5 and the 14 freeway. So that's a lot of dry brush, not only in the open space, but in the Santa Clara River. Very, very scary. And we all know that fires are a scary thing. So please, please, please call the second you see any smoke. I'm trying to think what else I missed. Crime Stoppers. People ask all the time, can I call the station and report crime anonymously? Absolutely. The dispatcher is going to ask you for your information. You can politely tell them you want to remain anonymous, not a problem. Or you can just go on Crime Stoppers and you can report anonymous information on Crime Stoppers. We get Crime Stopper tips all the time. I don't know how many a week, maybe 10 a week, maybe somewhere in there. And we get unbelievable tips on everything under the sun. So anyway, you can always call the station anonymously, and if you don't want to do that, you can go to Crime Stoppers. Catalytic converters. Catalytic converter theft is a major, major issue countywide. That's all 23 of our sheriff stations. I would assume LAPD would say the same thing, and probably every police department in the whole country. This is the last thing we'll talk about. Catalytic converters, very, very valuable right now, folks. Catalytic converters are made of 3 precious metals, rhodium, palladium, and platinum. They are worth a ton of money. I don't know what rhodium is worth today, but I know several months ago when I checked, I want to say it was $23,000 an ounce. And several months ago when I checked, gold was, $1,000 or $1,200 or somewhere in there. Let's just make it easy and say it was under $2,000. Think of that. Gold, under $2,000 an ounce. Rhodium, $23,000 an ounce. So your catalytic converters are made of these 3 precious metals. They, clean out the exhaust in your car, and, well, lo and behold, you steal the catalytic converter, you get under the car. It takes 2 guys to do it. One jacks up the car, the other guy goes under with a battery-powered Sawzall. One cut, another cut on both sides of the catalytic converter. They're out of there. They recycle that catalytic converter for $400 a pop, and you're out a $3,000 catalytic converter. You wake up in the morning, you start your car, it sounds like a big boat, it sounds like an ocean liner, and you go, oh my God, what is that? Well, your catalytic converter got cut out. It is a major, major, major problem. We've got several of them that have been caught on Ring video, and it can be done in seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. They have it to a science. If you drive a Prius, any Prius drivers in here? There are several models of Priuses that actually have 3 catalytic converters. One is way, way up by the engine that they can't get to, and then the other 2 are down where a normal catalytic converter would be, by your muffler. If you have that certain model Prius, you'd be out 2 catalytic converters. I mean, to get them replaced, you're looking at like $3,000. You can't even get a catalytic converter right now, and if you can, get ready to pay a premium. It's just like a car right now. You're going to pay more than what it's worth. So very, very scary, and these catalytic converter thieves, it is a big, 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 big business. When they were making these catalytic converters on these cars, rhodium was worth nothing not that long ago, and now it's this precious metal. Who would have thought in a million years, right? And here we are. So catalytic converters, again, if you have the luxury of parking in a garage, please do so. If you can park in a well-lit area in a driveway, please do so. That would save us a lot, especially on the catalytic converters. Other than that, I think that's it, just for the general stuff that comes up day to day that people always ask me. So with that, I've been talking for 20 minutes at least. Yes, sir. Any questions?
With the new station that's finished, which looks like it's going to be pretty soon, will the community be given an opportunity perhaps on a Saturday to take a tour and take a look ourselves?
Yes, great question. So if anybody didn't hear the question is the new station's opening up, and I'm glad you brought that up. That was on my list, and I skipped over it. The question was the new station's opening up. What's the plan? What's going to happen? So let me back up a little bit. So the new station will probably start moving in late August, potentially early September, but I think it'll be late August. It's going to be about a 4 or 5 week move. As you can imagine, moving a sheriff's station would just imagine moving the Moose Lodge to another location. Imagine the logistics involved. Now think of the sheriff's station Think of all the dispatchers, the secretaries, the actual dispatch equipment, the jail, all that good stuff. It's probably about a 4-week move-in. I believe, please don't hold me to this, I believe the grand opening will be September 1st. However, at the grand opening, we will not be operational by then. Because again, if we start moving in late August and it's about a 4-week move, give or take, we won't be ready for September 1st. So the grand opening, I don't know the details of it. There will certainly be a ceremony. I don't think on September 1st we will be doing tours, but there will be a chance to do tours for the public. I don't know exactly how restrictive they'll be. There wouldn't be a tour of the jail, I could tell you that. But there will probably be a tour, definitely of the grounds and probably certain parts of the building. I just don't know what that'll look like, and I don't know what date that'll be. But great question. Yeah, I forgot about the most important thing, a new sheriff's station. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering when some work has to be done at our very busy intersections. It may be overhead wiring, it may be plumbing, it could be anything, and they close off a lane. Now, the computer that works the lights doesn't know we lost a lane, and so everything backs up. And we either need officers there waving their arms to move the traffic or some sort of coordination. I don't know if that's under the city. I suppose the person that needs to be in the intersection should notify someone they're doing that. And then there ought to be something to compensate for the lanes. It's probably going to have to be manual traffic control, otherwise it just backs up.
Yeah, so great question. So as you know, in a big city or even a small city, there's all kinds of traffic construction that's being done. That is actually a great thing. So if I'm assuming maybe there's a project going on near your house that's been ongoing, okay, well, if there is a project near your house that's ongoing, or you hear of a project, or you know they're setting up the cones and they're going to be there for a day, 2 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, please reach out to the station. You can reach out to one of these zone deputies. You can email me directly. I left my cards back there. Reach out to the station. Ultimately, what we'll do is we'll put you in touch with our traffic sergeant. That's Sergeant Shoemaker. He's in charge of all of our traffic. And then he works hand in hand with the city traffic engineers. And then we will, we can certainly suggest to the city, hey, maybe change the light sequences. Maybe you're going to make the green sequence longer or maybe shorter, depending on what kind of traffic, there is. Now, I can't put a deputy sheriff out there 24/7 directing traffic, as you can imagine. We can direct traffic in emergencies, but let's say it was a week-long project or even a 4 or 5 day project. I couldn't do that. But in an emergency, of course, we're going to direct traffic, and we do that all the time. It's actually a big part of our job is directing traffic. But as far as a short-term or a medium or a long-term thing, we'll definitely work with the city. We just need to know, and somebody just got to complain about it, and then we'll work with them. We wouldn't actively identify all the places where there's construction and, say, hey, let's change the light sequence. Again, that's just a recommendation we'd make for the city, and then it'd be up to their traffic engineers as to whether or not they want to change it. Great question. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
A few years ago, or at least it seemed like, I think it was another gentleman was here from the Sheriff's Department and gave us some statistics, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that we were seeing a lot of gang activity coming in from, say, Palmdale, Lancaster, San Fernando Valley. Do you know if that's still the case, or has that gotten better, or whatever?
Yeah, so it's a great question. People always ask about gangs. Gangs, it's very interesting. In the 90s, gangs were very prominent, and then, gangs just kept getting more and more notoriety. And then, interestingly enough, probably in the last, 10 years or so, you don't hear a whole lot about gangs. I'm not just talking here, I just mean in general, in policing, you don't hear a whole lot about gangs. Policing tends to be more towards transients, mental illness now, prescription drugs, things like that, fentanyl. The gangs kind of took a they're kind of just not talked about as much. So to answer your question, yes. So as you can imagine, we are surrounded by, to the north, the Antelope Valley, to the southeast there, the city of Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley, to the west, obviously Ventura County, and then to our extreme north, up in Kern County, Bakersfield area and stuff. So are there gangs out there? Absolutely. Do they come out here? Absolutely. If you guys read KHTS every Monday or so, they'll usually do a little article about weekend arrest, and they'll say, I'm making up the number. They'll say, hey, there was 10 arrests this weekend, and then they'll kind of give a breakdown of what the arrests were for, and then they'll often say, 5 were from Santa Clarita, whatever. 7 were didn't live in the city, or not from Santa Clarita. So it's interesting. We do arrest gang members that are from out of the area. There's no doubt about it. We do have some gangs here. We definitely don't have a gang problem, I can assure you of that. Are there gang issues? Yeah. They go up and down. It kind of depends on arrest. Back in the day, even not that long ago, we can make an arrest and somebody would physically be in the county jail or state prison. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. And so, we have a gang unit. We actually have 2 gang units. We have our Cobra team, which is our gang detectives, and we have our SAT team, which is a special assignment team, which is our gang deputies, boots on the ground. So I can assure you that our SAT deputies, our special assignment team, and our Cobra detectives are very familiar and know every single gang member by their first name and vice versa. So we take a lot of pride. We keep a lid on it here. But I don't want you to think that they don't exist or that, that we forget about it or we pretend because we're Santa Clarita like they don't exist. I know they exist, but again, it's nothing, not even in the same ballpark as the San Fernando Valley, Antelope Valley, Bakersfield, parts of Ventura County. So we're very, very, very fortunate here.
Going back to the 5585, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
I recall at a city council meeting that they were saying that there's no place to put them. Is that the issue that you're talking about?
Yes, and so I don't want to speak for Henry Mayo. I don't work for them. I can't speak on their behalf. But when we 5150 an adult, okay, so we understand what a 5150 is, right? They meet a set criteria, and we can commit them for up to 72 hours. We bring them into Henry Mayo BHU. That's called the Behavioral Health Unit, right? The BHU. All hospitals have a BHU, and we drop them off, and that's it. Or we can bring them to All of You, which is a county hospital. Unfortunately, out here, Henry Mayo does not have a BHU for juveniles. So we can 5585 a juvenile, but if we do, we just have to take them to All of You because Henry Mayo just doesn't have the services for them. So Elaine, I think what you're referring to is it did come up in City Council a month or 2 ago, I forget, where somebody mentioned that, I forget, I think it was during public comment or something, that Henry Mayo did not have a BHU for juveniles. So they don't have one. That's something that, would certainly help us out because we definitely have to go down to All of You for that. And we would prefer just to come out here because needless to say, if we commit a juvenile and they live in Santa Clarita, their support network, their resources, their parents, everything is in Santa Clarita, right? If we take them to All of You, which is in Sylmar off the 210 freeway, that not only takes us a police car out of the field for an extended period of time because they're going all the way to All of You, but then that child's resources, their network is out in Santa Clarita, obviously not in Sylmar. So yeah, it does create a problem for us.
Is that just if they, say they put their own or find out anything like that, would you have to take them to Henry Mayo because it's a physical thing?
Yeah, so great question. So the question is, if a child was to commit a physical harm to themselves, would we have to take them to Henry Mayo? So the answer is yes. So we would take them to Henry Mayo for the actual medical care, but then the committal, the 5585 committal, they would have to go to All of You. So if it was really serious, we'd probably take them to Henry Mayo, or the ambulance would take them to Henry Mayo. If it was not so serious, we could get the medical treatment done at All of You and the committal done at All of You. But either way, they got to make their way down to All of You. But the bigger problem isn't just that Henry Mayo doesn't have a BHU unit. The bigger problem is oftentimes they do things and it just doesn't meet the criteria to commit them. And then unfortunately, we leave the parents and we say, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, there's nothing we can do. They don't meet the criteria. So it's very sad. And again, I don't have the statistics for juveniles, but if you talk to any deputy sheriff that works out here, a friend or a family member, whatever, you talk to anybody who works at this station and you say, hey, have you gotten to a lot of calls since last March, March 2020, have you gone to a lot of juvenile calls? And everybody's going to tell you the exact same thing. It's shocking. So mental health is a big issue. Drugs and alcohol, a big issue. And unfortunately, they kind of go hand in hand. There's a lot of self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. Yes, sir.
Captain, first of all, I'd like to thank you thank the deputies at the station. I've had the, can you hear me okay on this? I've had the honor and privilege of working with them over the years, and I've lived in the ABCs for 30 years. T-stops, jams, arrests, nobody does it better. The proactive tools you use, just wanted to thank you guys. And I take the time to thank deputies when I can. The Met deputies, I don't think you mentioned them, but we actually have mental health deputies out in the field now, which is really a huge asset when you that we never used to have before. With regard to the station covers the entire county. I don't think you touched on that, how massive of an area that the new station covers, and all the outlying areas that it covers as well. So your geographic responsibilities are quite extensive. And the last thing I'd like to throw in is, and I tell the deputies all this time, with this contentious period that we just went through, what's kind of disappointing to me with obviously the anti-law enforcement issues, the quarantine, people don't want to be informants as much. They don't want to pick up the phone. I was on my daily walk in Canyon Country Park. It took me 20 minutes on a 925A, but it takes time, and I would tell anybody that we can complain about the political stuff, maybe policing, but we can look up for each other, spend the time, get a hold of our CPU deputies, and give them the information. We just recently, Stowers and Cervantes got a big target in our complex. I couldn't even believe the small details that I saw, other people saw, license plates, seeing somebody, how big of a difference it can make. And again, thanks for all the hard work.
Great, well, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, just so touch upon a couple of those things. We have 23 sheriff stations, and Santa Clarita Sheriff Station's got the largest population. So we're waiting for the census to come out. I think it's going to come out in October, I'm not positive. But we're going to be well over 300,000 if you take the city and the county combined. If you add, so let me back up. So 23 sheriff stations, we've got the highest population here in Santa Clarita of all 23 sheriff stations. Plus, in addition to that, we have a contract with Magic Mountain, as you guys know. We have a contract with our school districts. That's 7 school resource deputies. Our Magic Mountain contract's 4 deputies and a sergeant. And then, we do a lot of movie security for Santa Clarita Studios. When they come and film on the streets, we provide security for that. So it is quite a big machine. There is absolutely no doubt about that. As far as CPU deputies, yes, Karina Cervantes and Andy Stowers, they're great. Please reach out to them. They will help you out in any way, shape, or form. Again, one-stop shop. Met deputies, what he's talking about, our mental evaluation team. We've got that team to respond. It's a deputy sheriff, not in a uniform. They wear Hawaiian shirts. I don't know why. The Met guys love to wear Hawaiian shirts. And they're with a LA County mental health clinician. And that's their partner. It's a deputy sheriff partnered with a civilian clinician from LA County Mental Health. And they go to these calls for service that involve, mental illness, suicide, threats of suicide. The problem is that there's only 2 of them, and there's a bunch of calls for service, and they can't get to every call, and they're not here 24/7. To touch upon that, we get about, and please don't hold me to this number, about 150 calls for service every 24 hours. And in addition to that, our self-generated, remember we talked about the proactive policing, our self-generated stops is probably another 130 or so. Please don't hold me to those numbers. So, if you add them up, we're in the realm of 250 or plus or minus 250 actual incidents where we are contacting people. And certainly you can imagine one stop could involve the contact, or one call for service could involve the contact of 10 people, 2 people, 10 people, 20 people. So pretty interesting. I mean, you think about going to that many, policing a city this big or a valley this big, and rotating those deputy sheriffs and all those personnel every 8 hours. It's an unbelievable machine that it just works, though. The guys and gals are very committed, and everything just works its way out. We're very, very fortunate. With regards to the political activity that you spoke about, As you know, and I hope everybody knows here, that the police will never get involved in politics, okay? Our job is to remain neutral. With all the protests we had out here from May 30th, 2020 to current, we have had about 140 protests in Santa Clarita, protests and rallies. And that's everything, everything you could imagine. And we keep track of those. We keep track of where they happened, the date they happened, how many people showed up, all that good stuff, what the cause was and all that. And we've got a perfect track record at our station. I'm very proud of that. So again, we don't play politics. We don't get involved in anything. We don't make political statements. We only provide security. That's it. So yes, Elaine.
Because I have a couple of emails within the last few days about vax versus unvax. Is there any pressure, like if you arrest people and put them in cells? Because I know in the meetings, they're not even allowing vax and unvax people to have
So great question. So no, with regards to vaccinated and unvaccinated. However, when we bring suspects into the jail, then we give them a mask to wear. Yeah. So there would be, I mean, we wouldn't, there would have to be a policy that comes out on that, and that's really the hot topic right now. If you guys have been following the news, I think what Elaine's referring to too is, the cities. Some of these cities are coming out saying, hey, we want all of our city employees to be vaccinated. And if not, I don't know what the alternative is. If not, they don't come to work or they're fired. Yeah. So the question ultimately is, with people coming into our jail, do we separate them vaccinated and unvaccinated? At this point, no, we don't. We give them a mask. But the majority of them are cited out in 4 hours. They're gone. So the overwhelming majority of them. No, we don't ask vaccination status. With regards to our department, there's been no talk, or at least nothing I'm privy to. I could be wrong, but nothing that I know of about making department members be vaccinated one way or the other. That hasn't been brought up. Great question, though. It's the hot topic, and more cities are doing. I think it started in San Francisco. I saw something about Pasadena on the news. There you go. Yeah. Hot topic, religion, politics, and vaccinations, right? So anyway, what else? Any other questions? You guys have been very, very nice, and I know I'm taking a long time, and I apologize. I know your time's valuable. Yes, sir.
You mentioned something earlier before the making changes.
I'm sorry. All that, it's not Magic Mountain, it's the state of the county. So the state of the county, Catherine Barger, our 5th district, does the state of the county. I think in the past it's always been at the Hyatt. I've been to a couple of them, and the Hyatt probably holds 400 people or thereabout. The state of the county was going to be held at Magic Mountain. I forget the date. I think it was next Wednesday or the Wednesday after. But that has been canceled, so it got canceled today. So yeah, it's what you're referring to, sir. Yeah, so state of the county, Catherine Barger, 5th District, held at Magic Mountain. It was either next week or the week after. It has been canceled because of the pandemic. So, any other questions? Yes, sir, in the back.
I'll segue into Ellen's topic. When you see the Vista Canyon, the big development up there, those roads, how do we accrue deputy sheriff for those areas? So what are your concerns? Do we have enough resources? At first glance, it's like, wow, it's going to take a lot more. Is it through the city process or the county process, or how is it?
Yeah, so great question. It is through the city. So I literally work with the city manager's office every single solitary day I come to work. There's a phone call or an email or both or a meeting every single solitary day. We discuss everything under the sun, as you can imagine, and we do the same thing with Catherine Barger's office, with Stephanie English, with our field office out here. But so to answer your question, as these new developments happen, we do something called an EIR. It's called an Environmental Impact Report. And through the EIR, we say, okay, this is where the development's going. This is the Part 1 crime rate over there. This is our response times to that area. And now we're going to add X amount of homes, which is going to add X amount of people, which is going to add X amount of cars. And then we work with the city on these EIRs, and we determine, do we need, at this point, do we need more deputies patrolling that area? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Sometimes it's let's wait and see. I mean, it's going to depend on the house or the housing. Is it single-family residences? Are they big and spread out? Is it high-density housing? It's going to depend on a multitude of things. But rest assured, the city or the county is not just building houses or building apartments or condos and just saying, okay, sheriffs, you just deal with it. It's never like that. Sometimes we add deputies to the contract, or sometimes we add deputies to patrol that area, and sometimes we don't. And really, a lot of that's just based on crime. Some areas have more crime than others, and just because one area doesn't have much crime, this 6 months or last year, doesn't mean that can't change. That these crimes change, the crime patterns change all the time, and that's what's really important with the two crime analysts we have. These two ladies, they're like miracle workers. They are on that system all day, every day, telling us, where to deploy our resources. So, I think that's a great question. Anything else?
Let's give just a minute.